Welcome to the Girls Marketing Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things marketing and the perfect backing track to your workday. Every week, we get up close and personal with marketers revolutionising the industry so you can learn from the best in the game. From the latest marketing trends to building a successful marketing career, no topic is off limits. At Girls in Marketing, we champion progress, inspire change, and encourage women to take the marketing world by storm. Check out our website and membership to learn more and get involved, as we'd love to welcome you to our inner circle. Right, let's dive into another episode together. Welcome to the final episode of Season 5 of the Girls in Marketing podcast. I'm Olivia, the founder of Girls in Marketing, and I can't believe we're wrapping up Season 5 already. It's been an amazing season filled with marketing advice from the best minds in marketing, and I have loved every single episode we've recorded. Before we dive into today's episode, I wanted to personally thank you all for listening to the podcast. No matter how long you've been a listener, thank you. It really does mean the world to us, and your support this season meant that we've reached the top 10 for business podcasts in the UK, alongside the likes of Grace Beverley, Stephen Bartlett, and Martin Lewis. In today's episode, we're going to be diving back into our favourite moments from this season, from creative discussions with Joe Bird to SEO strategies with Areej AbuAli. We really did cover a lot this season. Thank you for always being part of the Girls in Marketing community. Enjoy the episode. Today, I am delighted to be joined by Joe Bird, who is creative lead at Lounge.
It's funny because in one of my early jobs, there was a creative director when I was doing graphic design. And I wasn't really the creative graphic designer. I was the very technical art worker, and I was quite bored doing it. And he came over to my desk and he was like, "You want to do creative stuff, don't you?" I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "Just remember I've said this. Every skill you learn now will be forever useful in this industry." And I remember thinking at the time, it's like your dad giving you advice. You're like, yeah, whatever. But it's so true. I've never forgotten those words. And I now say those words to my team. Every little element along that rocky road that I went through, whether it was telesales even, working in the handbag department, the photography degree, working in the fashion photography studio, planning model parties, all these random things have made me so much better at a creative role because they are just so character building, all the elements that you need for communication and initiative. And this is creative skills. It's not something that's highly technical. Yes, there are rules for certain things, but when you learn the rules, you break the rules. So that's kind of how it works. So for sure, everything has been incredibly useful.
Yeah. So your role now, tell me a little bit about your role at Lounge now. What does that entail? What do you do on a day-to-day basis? I feel like it's so hard with such a kind of broad role to say what you do on a daily basis, but I'd love to dive into what you do right now.
Yeah, so at the moment, I'm creative lead at Lounge. And what that means is now I sort of lead a team there. So I have the responsibility of managing other creatives, which if anybody's listening and they're a creative manager, they know it's not the easiest job to manage creative people because a lot of what we do is so emotional. We put our heart and soul into our work, and yet we still work for businesses. So there's so often occasions where the work isn't right. It's not because you've done it wrong. It's because the business need changed or the brief changed or the budget wasn't there. And trying to compete with that emotion, not just of the team, but of my own constantly is quite hard. My team are wonderful. They're self-sufficient. They do an amazing job. And I, the projects I work on, I try not to get as emotional about it anymore. I think that's what comes with creative maturity, but it's still hard. You can't forget who you are as a person and that you've put that into the work. So day to day, we'll have a creative brief come in, so whether it's for a product launch or a brand campaign, or whether it's pop-up store or something like that. And my team are the first ones to touch it. So we will have the brainstorms. We try to make the brainstorms super fun as well. And just throw all our ideas together. We work with the copywriter. She's amazing. The brand managers that sort of make sure that everybody's looking in the right places for what we need to achieve at Lounge. And then we'll put it all together in a presentation and pitch our hearts out to the rest of the business. And if everybody goes yeah, that sounds good, we then work with the relevant teams to develop that project. So our job as creatives is predominantly I describe it as like an orchestra and we're the conductors.
Okay.
It's like we have to be the ones that stand at the front, sort of making sure that everybody's playing in time. Otherwise, the music on the page will not come out right. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like it could get squiffy.
Yeah.
But you have to do that in a way that everybody feels they're owning their own thing. Because if people don't feel empowered to work on a project, it's just not going to be great. They're just not going to want to make it happen for you or for themselves. So like an artistic conductor of campaigns, I guess.
Would you say then the kind of role your team has a kind of role in all the way through? So it's not just necessarily, I always kind of think, you know, is it just at the beginning? Is it obviously not necessarily at the end, but does it, I have the idea here from what you're saying around orchestra that it's kind of the whole campaign. Is that kind of how it works with you guys?
That's for sure how it works for me. That's what I took from my role at Gymshark. I don't know if maybe I got a reputation for being someone that can't let go of all elements. For me, I can only do my best if I'm on it from start to finish. Okay. And that's I'm not a micromanager. Like for sure, I'm like, oh no, you go do it. You can do this way better than me, this design or whatever. But I think unless you've got that level of consistency across the whole campaign from a creative point of view, I'm not looking at data and all that, that's the marketeers. But from a creative point of view, it's such a subjective thing that if I take my eye off it, it could suddenly pivot and go in a totally different direction. And then what I pitched at the start will not come to life. So then everybody in the business is going, this isn't what you said was gonna, happen. So I'm like, oh yeah, I took my eye off the ball. So I don't like doing that. Okay. So I nurture my team to hold the hand. It's you're not being overbearing. You're just holding the hand, you know?
Did you know that 44% of full-time workers say they have a side hustle or passion project? Have you got that burning idea to start a passion project, but no idea where to start? Don't worry, you're not alone. Hostinger is a sponsor of our podcast, and Hostinger's new AI website builder tool lets you start a website super easily with zero coding skills required. Just write 3 sentences to sum up what you're looking for, and Hostinger does the rest. Start your passion project with Hostinger by heading to hostinger.com/girlsinmarketing and use our exclusive code girlsinmarketing for 10% off your plan. You never know where your passion project might take you. Today, we are joined by Lauren Stretch, Head of Influencer and Social Marketing at Face Theory.
I mean, I always was taught about career currency. I don't know if that's really taught anymore. My mum is a headhunter for marketing professionals. So her main clients were like Disney and Coca-Cola. She always talked about career currency. So I spent the first 5 years of my career honing my craft and earning no money. First job, 12 grand, didn't get taxed, thought I was a millionaire. £600 of that went on my travel card to work. And so I had £400 for the rest of the month. And I lived in poverty, but grasped every opportunity I could, even at Misguided. Am I allowed to say this? I'm going to say this. I earned $27,000. I looked after all the advocacy for that brand. But I learnt more in 18 months than anyone else I knew that had stayed in London and stayed in those safe, big, Tesco's, Asda, whatever. I learnt so much that was really worth it, which gave me this springboard to when I was ready to move into those big brands. I had all the skills and I could then sort of really demand my worth. I was very lucky to be able to do that. Some people can't do that. But yeah, career currency was something that I really valued, and getting those skill sets to be able to say I am a jack of all trades and really, really mean it.
Yeah. Do you feel like that had a massive benefit for you, like being a jack of all trades?
I think it's made me incredibly resilient. And now at 35, I'm head of social, which is a job I said I would never do. But I am not scared of anything. And that is a really big thing. I throw myself, I run at every single challenge and I run fast at it. And I just hope that I'll have the skills to carry me through or Google, you know, or asking the right person, asking people within my network and my community, what agency should I be working with? Tell me, what content is working for you? How your influencer collab's going. I do have that network that I've created along the way to find the answer if I don't have the answer.
Yeah. I love that because I think so many people assume that opportunities are handed to people on plates or like
No.
things like that happen. But I genuinely think the same as you. You've got to go after every opportunity you possibly can. So tell us the inside scoop. What's it actually like to work in beauty industry?
So I moved into beauty because the people are really nice. So when I was at Misguided, I happened across an amazing woman called Annie Harrison. She was head of influencer PR at Benefit Cosmetics. And I really feel like she actually created beauty influencer marketing in the UK. Remember those? They used to do like a Liverpool big British brow trip.
Mm-hmm.
And they used to take people to Marbella. And she really, I think, created the idea of brand love within the influencer community and creating that and letting that carry you through. And she was the one who said, you can do so much better than working in fashion, like the crazy hours, etc. And all the influencers in beauty were just like really genuinely nice people. People ask me who, the big beauty influencers, what they like Rachel Leary and Cece Clark, and all. They're really genuinely nice people. It's a pleasure to spend 48 hours on a trip with them. So yeah, it's lovely. Ended up in Estee Lauder companies, was amazing. I think they all thought I was absolutely crazy. They do like a non-uniform Friday and I turned up in a t-shirt that said bitching with no bra on. And it was a trip. Really lovely people though. I'm still really good friends. I met my people. I ended up living with like the head of comms for Estee Lauder for like 2 years. So I found my people. It's a great place to be. I would say if you want to work in comms, go beauty first. Don't do fashion. It's horrible
So
there.
would you say there's much difference between the two then? Is it more just like the culture and like the work hours and stuff like that?
I think there's less pressure because of distribution.
Mm-hmm.
So it was very interesting when I joined ELC and I realised if I don't do my job for 2 weeks, actually nothing's going to happen because we're in every single Boots. Like, I always say, there's this thing that in London, you're never more than 5 metres away from a rat. Well, in most places in the world, you're never 5 metres away from an Estee Lauder company product.
Okay.
So because of that, the distribution is so large that that's the marketing. You're in every single department store. Makes life much easier. So because the pressure is down, because it's that lower price point, it's not a £500 jacket, you can have more fun with it.
Yeah.
And there's a big thing in beauty that we say all the time. It is only beauty. It is only skincare. No one is going to die. And that fact is lost within fashion marketing. It does feel like you're going to die. But the stakes are that much higher. There's only certain places you can buy that item. The price point is higher. It's more of a challenge to the consumer. So you have to do way more convincing. You have to activate in so many different ways. You have to have your fingers in so many pies to make it work. Brands close down. Successful brands close down every day. Whereas in beauty, you can take more risk.
Today's guest is highly requested. He's a mastermind behind some of the most engaging social media campaigns in the finance industry. Today, I'm sitting down with Richard Cook, Senior Social Media Manager at Monzo.
Disruption isn't really that hard when you just look at what everyone else is doing and have a mindset of being disruptive. Obviously, it kind of depends who you are, what you're doing. I talk to social media managers and they tell me, I work for a shipping container manufacturer. How can I be disruptive? And I'm like, okay, you've got it a little bit harder than I do. But, slap a green screen face filter on a shipping container and talk as if, make a character up. There you go. That's solved. You can disrupt that industry very easily. So I guess it's just like having a disruptive mindset, looking for the creative opportunities, being like, well, what do we have? At Monzo, often it was like, well, what do we have to talk about? We have our product, and that's amazing. There's only so much we can talk about our product. We can't talk about creating a savings account 5 times in a week. That's like, once every couple of weeks kind of thing to talk about. What do we have? Well, we've got a card. That's cool. Like we have this bright pink card that is very disruptive. Let's make loads of content with that. So like go around the world, taking photos of the card in different places. There you go, done. Okay, what else do we have? Searching around the office, being like, oh, what we got. And like one of the things that we found was when staff have kids at Monzo, we send them like a new baby pack. And as part of that pack was a very cute plushie, like a little plush toy of a Monzo card. And we're like, cool, that's our content strategy for the next 6 months. So we create those like plushy content. Like I think Duolingo had the same thing. And you can like, obviously it's a much bigger version. But like, I think the Duolingo owl, which is like so famous on TikTok, was originally made for like their hiring team, I think. I think it was like, so like job fairs and stuff, they could have like, come and meet Duolingo. But like, they were like, no, that we're having that. So like, just looking for the opportunities, because there are unique things about your company, whether that's like your office or even the people. Maybe you've got someone like really funny or someone really interesting or someone really tall. I don't know. There's always like something you can do to be like, no, this is ownable. We can do something with this. Even if you are a shipping container company, there's something you can do.
Yeah. And you are quite disruptive with your own personal brand as well.
Yep.
So you recently started adding things to a British Airways billboard. Tell me a bit more about that.
Yeah, well, like what I'm saying for like brands, I would also apply to myself. Like LinkedIn, I love LinkedIn. LinkedIn is like the funniest place because everyone takes themselves so seriously. Like it like cracks me up just like reading someone's sincere. I wake up at 4:30, did a workout, raised my 10 kids, went to the gym. Just like, oh my God, like don't take yourself so seriously. So like the way I think about like my own, I hate to use the word personal brand because I don't really have a personal brand. I was like having fun on LinkedIn, but like what entertains me is creating content that like parodies or satirizes the very serious content. So I like, yes, I am trying to be disruptive, but it's just because I'm basically just trying to make fun of people who take themselves too seriously. Like with the BA thing, people, there's a whole world of marketers on LinkedIn who just love to like talk about ads. It's like, oh, have you seen the latest billboard from X? Have you seen and we've had this for our own content. For Monzo, we've shared billboards and stuff, and half the comments are just marketers being like, oh yeah, but the logo's not very big. Or it's like, oh, they got the kerning wrong on the font. I was like, oh my God, like no one cares. Only you care. So yeah, my series on LinkedIn I'm doing at the moment is very much a kind of like, what if we took all the feedback that everyone ever had on ads, literally, and I'm on day like 10 or 11 of just like making those adjustments to prove how horrible content would be if we listened to every single piece of feedback we heard on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm just being silly. I'm not. There's no strategy here. I don't know what I'm doing. I have no idea what I'm going to post tomorrow. I'm not really thinking about it to that extent. I'm just like trying to entertain myself, and if I can entertain other people, that's great.
Today, we have Lily Thistlewood, Head of Performance Marketing, on the podcast to chat all about her broad career experience.
As a brand, you have to do strategies. Commercially, how can we deliver our targets? But aspirationally, how can we excite people? And we have, a lot of sessions in marketing where we're like, what's our next collab? Who's our next big moment or our next edit going to be with? And a lot of the names the girls are referencing, I'm like, sorry, who? Like, who's that? And I'm so old in compared to kind of like everything that they're bringing to the table. That's important. Like they're unlocking a market that I didn't know was, even part of something. So it's really important that, we are always kind of growing our audience out. We're learning, we're understanding what means something to those guys. And because we're such a lean team, we can move quickly. If someone's super relevant, we can reach out, and we've got the kudos as the brand to get these really exciting collabs in place.
Yeah, I love that you are invested in that young talent as well, because so many people, businesses, it's not, I think they just have a bad rap on young people. Yeah. I mean, I seen there was all those articles, wasn't there, a few weeks ago that was saying about Gen Z are lazy or all of that sort of thing. And I think it's quite damaging to that younger generation, because there are so many people that are eager to learn, and especially with a brand like Adenola and all of these other young brands, it's like cool to work there, but also they're just eager to learn. And I think that so many businesses don't see that, and they kind of underestimate that younger generation.
Yeah. It's obviously different. They're a whole other generation that differs from my generation, where we kind of started and how we've got to these points in our career. So obviously they're going to be different, but you've just got to learn how to kind of work with those guys and get the best out of them. Yeah. I kind of just try to be really positive. I'm very happy in work. I'm very happy outside of work as well. But I want the team to know that like it's cool to be good at your job, and it's cool to like try really hard and work really hard, and it's no no secret, no surprise. If you just work really hard, you do get to, you know, that promotion or that next step.
Yeah.
But don't always chase it. And I always tell stories about how I've taken many sideward steps in my career. I've taken some backward steps, but ultimately it's all led me to this point now, which I'm very happy to be in.
Yeah, it's that element of like squiggly careers,
Yeah,
isn't
mine's
it?
a mess. It's all over the place, but I wouldn't change any of it.
Yeah, I literally had a call this morning with someone, and they said it's so difficult because people think that careers are so linear, where it's like, you know, you do this, you go from assistant to exec to senior to all of these different things. And it's just not like that, is it? And I think that when you understand that and you just enjoy the moment and enjoy the fact that you're in a role that you enjoy or you're doing things that you like, I think that is like such a nice place to be. I think often, and I do this so much, like worrying about the future, worrying about, okay, what's my next step? What's my next move? But as you said, sometimes those sideward steps, backward steps, or even just staying where you are, but just like looking ahead and keep going is like the best thing, isn't it?
Definitely. And, you know, one of the main benefits of working at Adenola and the size we are right now is that we're all in one room. So I'm sat next to the commercial director and the finance director, and I'm like, wow, you guys are speaking a language that I've not spoke before, but I'm upskilling because of that. You know, when I worked at Very, obviously I was really junior, but I wasn't exposed to that side of the business. And I try and explain to the team that, you know, this exposure that you're getting and learning, that's like a huge added benefit of working here. It's not always about your title. It's not always about what you're getting paid. You know, working for this brand at this crucial period will set you up.
Anna Jones is a creative marketing strategist and founder of Your Agency. She champions female founders globally to get them the visibility they deserve through results-driven strategic marketing and storytelling.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket too early is probably from a career point of view, I'd say, because you might find something that you don't even know about yet in marketing is what you actually love. So just give things a try. And if there's a project where or like something where you could dabble in something else, or you know, just do a course out of interest because you want to find out about it, that could be your calling in life. But if you sort of come out and think, right, when you start your career, I'm only going to do this, you're kind of limiting your opportunities. And like some of the stuff that I work in now, did I start doing that? No. Am I a complete expert in it? Absolutely not. But I still now am able to offer that whole spectrum. And that's what I really talk to a lot of female founders about, is like the importance of email marketing. Don't do only, you know, digital, don't do only social. And like, so that's kind of what I mean from my sort of eggs in the basket point of view. But also don't, you know, the flip side of that is don't spread yourself too thin. So it's kind of that from a career point of view. Yeah, I think you have to be known for something, but also don't disregard something, because that could be the best thing you know, and you could. And also don't be afraid to change. If you decide something and then you think, I started doing pure social media management, and that it actually is not what I want to do. I'm much more strategic and bigger visionary stuff. So I do much more strategy work now and planning and campaign planning and things like that. And that's what I enjoy most. So it's, you know, don't be sort of ring fenced into one area. It's kind of the message.
I speak to a lot of like one person marketing teams who say, oh, I really want to do an email strategy, or I really want to do a social strategy or an SEO strategy. And I kind of say to them, right, okay, that's great, but you are only one person.
Yeah.
And as you said, you don't want to spread yourself too thin.
No.
And I think when it comes to marketing strategy, we can get so caught up in, how do I create the best strategy possible?
Yeah.
How do I get all these amazing results and all of that? But you are just one person.
Yeah.
And I
It's
think
got to be
something,
realistic, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And something that I always say to people is, okay, yeah, you want to do that. And I admire the ambition, but let's take it down a little bit.
Go
Think
back to
about
basics,
exactly.
isn't it?
Think about the realistic situation where you are now.
Yeah.
How do you get to where you want to be without spreading yourself too thin? And I think that's so important.
Definitely. And I think, you know, I think for me, like when I'm working with people, we do look at all of that, but we don't go down like, I don't know, the SEO is relevant to the keywords. So the keywords are so vital. So it then all it interlinks. You don't need to be as a business owner, like you're saying, solopreneur, you don't need to be like this top end expert on SEO. And ultimately, if you're not an expert, outsource. Like, don't try and kill yourself trying to do it, because like SEO, I mean, I understand it because I have to understand it, but actually doing the work, I always go to somebody else because like that's not my strength, and someone's going to get better by working with Kira, who I work with, or whoever, or Danny. So it's like making sure like you surround yourself with other experts and go and ask. And I think that's really important to get those answers.
What would you say is like the biggest lesson that you've learned from your career so far?
Okay, this is really hard to answer with one. Can I give two?
Yeah, go on.
The first one is surround yourself with like-minded, amazing people, because nobody can do it on their own. Like, I think getting a community of creatives to collaborate with, to have experts to tap in, or if that's a mentor, like, I mean, when I started your agency, I had Gillian as my mentor, and that totally changed how I set up my business. And that doesn't have to always be some highly expensive mentor. There's so many amazing mentor schemes for people doing all kinds of jobs. Like I've been part of Enterprise Nation. I've done like Albright's mentorships. So there's loads of different ones on offer that you don't even have to pay for. But having that person, like that sounding board, is so, so important. And then the other one that's a biggie for me is never be afraid to ask for something. Like go out there and ask, even if you're like absolutely bricking it as you ask it and think they're never going to say yes. What is the worst that can happen? They say no. Well, but if you don't want to go away thinking, but I never had the balls to ask. So I think going out there, and some things that I don't know, like that people have done, and you think, who would have thought that brand would have worked with that? That's probably because they just thought, sod it, what have I got to lose? I'm going to ask. And they did, and they opened up a massive opportunity. So yeah, even if you haven't got, when you approach some of these people, whether it's for like your next job, or whether it's for like pitching because you want to work with a different brand or anything like that, you don't have to have this perfect plan. You just have to believe in yourself and believe that you can help them, and you could do that next big job. And then if you go out there and just say, and they might even open up a slightly different opportunity that you didn't even know that was there, that's going to take you on the route to the other job. So I think just go out there and ask, and don't be afraid to ask, because you really are limiting your opportunities if you don't put yourself out there.
Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Beth O'Malley. Beth is a CRM and email marketing specialist, and also the founder of Astral Digital. Today, we're going to be talking all about the rise and future of email marketing, as well as CRM.
But why are you doing that? Like, what's the goal? And I think so many marketers fall into the trap of just sending emails out for the sake of sending emails out, because you need to tell people something. And that's the reason why. But that shouldn't be the reason why you send an email. It's got to be, you've got to have one specific goal, one specific reason. And that might be loads of emails. Everybody thinks you have to cram everything into one email, shoot it out the door, when actually it doesn't work like that anymore in email marketing. So yeah, the why is really important. Data's even more important.
Yeah, let's dig a little bit into that then. So email marketing, segmentation, that's kind of your jam.
Yeah.
Why can't you just send an email out to 20, 30, 40,000 people, all the same email?
Yeah, so I always say like the old era of email marketing is dead. However, there are huge brands still getting it wrong. So I call it spraying and praying. You send out to a big list, one message, and you will catch something. You will catch some revenue. I always say you cast your net wide, you catch some fish. You're going to get something. So people have been using that strategy for a long time because it has worked to a point. But now the inbox is so, so crowded. My inbox has 50,000 unread emails in. It's horrendous. It's awful. And to get a message through to me and to anybody else is even more difficult. And the other reason is the way people consume emails has changed. Everybody is now consuming content on their mobiles. You've got TikTok, you've got Instagram Reels, you've got stories. It's quick, it's snappy. And so emails have to be like that. People are behaving the same way they would on TikTok, the way they are on email. So to put a long newsletter with loads of information that you think people want to see, like when you go on TikTok, your algorithm knows what you want to see. So why are you not doing that for email? You need to be able to know what people want, their interests, all the content that is going to be valuable to them, everything that you're tracking, behavior, what they like, what they don't like, their preferences, who they are, their jobs, where they are in their career. And then you can push the right email. So the spray and pray method is still being done by, like, I'm not going to name any brands, but I'd say 90% of brands are still there. Smaller businesses are getting it right. Some really good examples of small businesses doing email marketing that's just not like, we're going to send to all. But I think it's the panic of having to get the email out and how long it takes to craft a good email is a full-time job. So it's the balance between we don't have enough resource and time to, okay, well, we need to get this out the door. We need to tell everyone. So then everyone's like, okay, we'll just get it out. So I think it's really difficult to get that right. And that's why there's been a rise in email jobs at the moment. So CRM managers, email specialists, because brands are realizing actually the ROI on email is really, really high. So we've got to invest that time and money to get it right.
Mm-hmm. Do you think then, thinking about email marketing and CRM, do you think that is a growing kind of industry? I assume so from what you've said. Do you think that there's a lot of, because people say all the time, you even said it yourself, like email marketing is dead. But is it is it as we know it? Where is the future of that?
Yeah, so the old way, which is what I said, is like generic messages, let's blanket everyone with this one email and send that out. That's dead. That email marketing's dead. But what we're seeing now is hyper-personalization and hyper-segmentation. So this is using AI into email service providers and into CRMs that are going to predict what people are doing based on what they're purchasing or their behavior. And this is really easy for like e-com brands because you can obviously track when people purchase things. So Moonpig have done it really, really well, but their next direction. So, if you ordered a card for my birthday, it would remind you, wouldn't it? It would be like, best birthday's coming up. The next level of that is actually looking at the kind of cards that you're buying, and they would develop that card and choose the right card for you by that date and say, we've got it all ready for you. You just need to buy it and add a message. And that's hyper-personalization. So for a B2B brand as well, it would be looking at the stages of people's career, how people engage with different types of comms. You're collecting all of that, and it's going to start to generate relevant content at the relevant time for those people. So if you're not ready to hyper-personalize, which a lot of brands aren't, they don't get just basic segmentation right, then you're probably not ready for what's to come in the future. Another massive change that's happening and that everybody needs to be aware of is that email clients like Gmail, Outlook, Yahoo, all of their privacy policies are changing and getting stricter, which means it's now even harder to get into the inbox. So if you thought it was hard now, which it is, 1 in 5 emails goes to spam, it's even harder to get back in because you have to have authentication set up. And it's all the techie bits that really email marketers don't know about because you've never really had to think about it. But actually now, if you're not focusing on deliverability, you are going to miss the next 2 years. Privacy policies are going to come out, and we could even enter a time where you don't have opens and you don't have clicks. So imagine sending an email and not knowing who's clicked on something, and you purely have to go off conversions or Google Analytics. That's where I'm predicting it's going to get to. So people have to adapt and they have to change.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Girls in Marketing podcast. It was a good one, wasn't it? If you enjoyed the episode, please leave a review and rating of the podcast and share it with someone who may find it useful. Your support really does go a long way. We'll be back next week with a brand new episode, but in the meantime, keep up to date with Girls in Marketing over on social media and our website. We'll pop some helpful links in the description.